I bought a Porsche. Standing behind me is my new car, and it is a Porsche. Let me show you around the cheapest Porsche that money can buy. Now, of course, the reason I bought the car wasn't for the badge, but it was for the actual car. I've been hunting on and off for a 944 for a very, very long time. This right here is a 1983 Porsche 944. The 944 is the cheapest Porsche that money can buy you. This or the original Boxster, but I would reckon this is the better alternative than the Boxster. Problem with the 944 is these cars got really cheap for a good amount of time, which means not only did the cars get neglected and abused by people who really shouldn't be owning Porsches, but also they're old now. They have problems. A lot of cars have sat for a long time, accumulated rust, whatever it is. So good examples in a reasonable price point for the 944s are far and in between. Now, even though this is the cheap Porsche, the 944 has a cult following in and of itself. There's a lot of 944 guys out there who are restoring these cars, taking care of them, buying the cheap ones, making them nice, and it is awesome to see. So the reality of buying the car is you're gonna pay a little bit extra when you do have the things, the proper maintenance is done. There are big three with this car, and we'll touch on that in a second. But a car with the big three already done, a full inspection done to it, fix all the weird and small things and the things that have come up with age. The guys who are working on them do a really good job on them, and then you see them listed for close to 5 figures. Now, is the 944 really worth it in the current market? It really depends what you want out of the car. There's turbo models available, there's S models available, there's an S2 model. This right here is just a base model 944, nothing special, no bells and whistles. This particular car is brown on brown. You might be saying over there and saying it looks black to me, and I originally thought the pictures made this thing look black, and when I showed up and you see the car, it has this kind of dark chocolate gray black to it. It's kind of like a light black, if that makes any sense. It's not the pure black that you might expect when someone says black. When you put this next to my RX-7, it is very clear that this car is not black. Of course, the 944 came in automatic and manual. Obviously, I have the manual. My brother and I have been talking about getting a 944 for a while. I told him wait a little bit, I can't find a good one. And one locally to him popped up about 4 hours away. And I said, you know what, that's really not a bad price for that car. I did a little consideration, and I ended up thinking, you know, that's not the best car in the world. You know, we'll just hold off. But then I saw this car pop up very close to where I am. It was about 45 minutes away, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go check it out. He has it listed at a decent price, and he has some of the maintenance items done that I need if I was to buy one of these cars. Let's see how clean the car is. Let's see how much he's willing to negotiate. Now, these cars have a big three in terms of BMW terms. You know, there's like very major issues that need to be addressed that are very expensive. The big three in these aren't really that major, but there's something that needs to be done, and you need to watch out for them. The very first thing is the fact that the 944 is a transaxle, just like a Corvette. Transaxles drive very odd, and the last time I believe we were in this parking lot was with my old transaxle, which was my C5 Z06. The transmission lives back here in the rear differential. There's a torque tube that runs through the entire car that connects it up to the clutch and pairs to the engine. The problem with a transaxle is if you do need to do a clutch job, the whole transaxle needs to come down. Very labor intensive job. All the rear end has to come down, and the clutch and the torque tube and all of those things have to come out in order to access the clutch and replace it. Clutch is a major ticket item that you want to have done. I was originally told the clutch was done. I later found out when I was there before I bought the car that it was just a clutch hydraulic and slave cylinder had been changed, and the clutch isn't changed. I don't think the car needs a clutch. It feels pretty good. It doesn't feel like it's dying, but the bite point is really high, so hopefully we can adjust it. Obviously, I reflected that in the purchase price of the vehicle. The other two things are underneath the hood, the water pump and the timing belt. Timing belts need to be replaced like 30, 40,000 miles, give or take. Some people say that you need to do them every 4 years. I've seen on the forums, realistically, if you drive the cars, you can probably get about 5, 6, 7 years out of them. The timing belt in this car was done a number of years ago, but not very many miles have been put on the car. Allegedly. I say that because the odometer is broken on this car, a very common 944 issue. If you know anything about the 944s, the faulty odometer is basically going to be a reality of 75% of the cars you see for sale, I'd say. The odometer has this gear in it that is, I believe, plastic, or it's just in a misplaced area. If you're driving the car and you click the trip 0 while the car is driving, it just breaks the odometer and it leaves the chat. So that happened to this car. That happened to a majority of the 944s you're gonna see for sale. I believe they also just break without you doing that, but that's just a way to prevent it from happening, but you can still lose your odometer. The owner of this car's brother had owned this car since the early 90s. The guy parked it for a while, and I believe it has about 50,000 miles on the car. There's not really a way to prove that. I did talk to the brother. It seems like it's been sitting for a while. To me, I can believe the car has about that many miles on it. I mean, everything's in really a nice shape overall, but you can tell that, you know, it needs a little bit of love. I'll rock with it. We'll say it has 50,000 on it. I don't know if we can fix the odometers because it's annoying to not know how many like miles you've actually done on the car. You kind of have to guess for oil changes and services and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know, odometer is a very useful thing, and for buying a car, you want to know how many miles are on it, but with these cars, you kind of just have to say, you know what, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna have to take the owner's word for it. Obviously, kind of do your look overs, check the paperwork. I have a big pile of paperwork when it comes to this car, so that's why I felt pretty confident purchasing it. But the water pump's the other issue. The water pump also just likes to fail. It's an old car, not big service ticket item, but it is a little bit annoying to get to. So those two things have been done in the engine. The car's had a decent amount of parts. The one thing that I really hate are the fact that it has all-season Chinesium tires on it. I don't know why the previous owner put these on it, but it really makes the car feel like garbage. With that said, let's hop into the car and take it for a drive and talk a little bit more about some of the things that we need to address to it, and do the thing that I like to do immediately when I purchase any used car. Now, I really haven't driven my 944 too much. I have driven it one time late at night, maybe about 1.5 miles. And then the very first time I drove it home, maybe 15 minutes because I let my buddy drive it the rest of the way. And then I had the original test drive, which was maybe 2 miles or so. The very first thing is the seating position for me. First of all, I feel like I'm so far forward, no matter how far back I really go. Like if I'm this far back, I still feel like I'm too close, but then I can't reach the clutch. The other thing is the fact that the steering wheel in the 944 is lopsided. There's so much more space here than there is here, which might not be the biggest deal in the world, but when you drive it, it feels so awkward because it'll rub on your legs, and this gets super, super hot in the sunshine, and it doesn't feel very nice. The second thing is, just like any transaxle, it's quite a meaty, I guess you can say, throw. Perhaps the linkages might need to be adjusted if that's a thing, or you know, there might be a way to make it feel a little bit more crispy. It's not, I wouldn't say it's sloppy, it's just a little tough. Flashback to my Corvette, I had the exact same problem. But with the Corvette, I know people put different shifters in them and it made the world of a difference, so maybe that's another thing we can do with the 44. I do plan to keep this car longer than I planned to keep the Corvette. The Corvette day one was not a car I wanted to keep for a very long time. I just wanted to experience it, drive it, and move on. With the 944, I don't know exactly what to do. I think we're gonna do some OEM Plus mods, kind of fix the car up, clean it up, not spend too much money on it, and just drive and enjoy it for a little bit. The dream build with this car would be to just do everything, different engine, different paint, and just make this car what I guess I would imagine the 944 should have been. The S2s and all that do have 16 valve engines. They also have the turbo engines, but putting an inline 5-cylinder with a turbo on it, I think would be so sweet. They would sound good and it would make more than enough power. With that said, let's fire this thing up. Runs really nicely. If you can hear, it does rumble a little bit on the idle. If I do rev it up, it runs really smooth. So I'm thinking it might need some motor mounts, not the end of the world. But I just have not found a way to fall in love with the seating position. I feel like I'm also too high. The seat might need to be dropped a little bit, but this steering wheel desperately needs to go. I absolutely hate how this wheel feels. It just does not work. One thing I'm still trying to get used to with the 44 is the fact that the brake is on the left side. I have a couple of times driven without dropping that. I'm just gonna admit that right away. This time I remembered though. Clutch release is all the way at the top with this car, which is a little bit of an issue because it is a little annoying. I think we can adjust that, but not 100% sure. Power steering is definitely working, but the suspension doesn't feel that great.
you know, there's a little bit of slop. The car, it drives like an 80s car, I guess.
Now, I know what you guys are saying. You guys have been seeing us wear these sick t-shirts all summer long, been wondering, yo, where do I get one of those? Well, they are now officially live on the VintageRacingClub.co official website. Not only are these t-shirts super sick, but they're also really high quality because that's what we do. Buy your t-shirts now!
One of the OEM Plus mods that I've seen people do, ow, just burnt my leg with the steering wheel. What I was saying is one of the mods I've seen people do is put Scirocco steering racks. It deletes the power steering, but apparently it makes them handle way better, and I think that's something I'm definitely open to. It's gonna be a little annoying, but it's not like a daily car that's gonna be daily driven in traffic and all of that kind of stuff. It's really gonna be a weekend car, as many of my cars are. Now, stepping out of the car, one of the larger issues that I'd like to address right away is the fact that this rear hatch does not open. I don't know how big of a problem that is. I don't know how annoying it is, but hopefully not that big of a deal. If I come and I turn the key here, the car will pop on one side, but it will not pop on the other side. So I'm thinking the linkage or whatever is inside is compressing this side, popping this lock, but it's not compressing and opening that lock. So I hope it's not a big deal. I hope it's not one of those problems that requires a billion hours of labor to fix it. If it does, it'll suck, but I'll have to do it. I think we're gonna be okay. The owner did tell me it did pop not too long ago, so I don't know what to believe, but hopefully I can get it fixed. Which company cheated on their homework? These cars look so similar. It is actually funny. But you guys can see a little bit of how the RX-7 is black and that is brown. It's supposed to be black, it's like a dark gray, but it's a very subtle difference. If these cars weren't together, you'd probably just think the 944 was black. It's just so funny to me how like almost identical these cars are in terms of almost everything. The 944 is a little bit longer, it's a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. It also has rear seats, but even with the rear seats, the cars are so similar in length. Even though the RX-7 has a very, very tiny engine, it has much more in front of the car than the 944 does, and I guess the 44 makes up for it by having a little bit of a smaller hatch in terms of length. I think it's definitely bigger overall in terms of cubic inches. The 944 is definitely a much wider car. I mean, you guys can see how big that is and how kind of tiny that is. It's just like the shrunken down version, but these cars are so similar. It is actually pretty funny that a 944, I do like this little duck bill, and the RX-7 feels like it's missing something. And if you're wondering where the Miata is, yes, it's still in the collection. This is the car that I would never sell. So for those of you who don't know about the Porsche 944, you don't know the history of how it was kind of created and why someone would want to buy the cheapest Porsche other than just having the brand associated with it. The reason I bought it is not because it's a Porsche and the cheapest Porsche, but because it's a 944. The 944 was actually a massive sales success, and it's one of the many reasons, and one of the bigger reasons why Porsche is still a brand today and the 911 is still in production. Just to go over a quick history of the car without going into too many details, the Porsche 944 was first known as the 924. The 924 was a smaller, kind of narrow body version of this car. It had a little bit more of a lackluster engine in it, and eventually they decided to upgrade it to the 944 you see today. And if you know anything about the Porsche 944, this car was actually supposed to be a Volkswagen. At the time, Porsche was more of a consulting firm rather than a proper car company. If you know anything about the conception and how Porsche had been doing things, Ferdinand Porsche was actually the person who was responsible for the design of the Volkswagen Beetle. Of course, based off of the Beetle, he made his own car with the 356, one of the most gorgeous cars, in my opinion, that the company has ever created. And he had passed away about 3 decades before this car even became a concept. The Porsche was challenged with the task from Volkswagen to create a two-door sports car at the time, and long story short, they used a lot of Volkswagen parts. There's a lot of Volkswagen, kind of like Scirocco and Rabbit and all of that in the 944. Suspension from the Volkswagen Beetle and things like that. It ended up not being a Volkswagen because Volkswagen started to go through some financial troubles at the time, and they ended up deciding, you know, we don't need a two-door sports car, and they ended up creating the Scirocco. And at this point, Porsche was like, okay, well, we don't really have a car anymore, so let's just make the car ourselves. They labeled it a Porsche, they used the Volkswagen parts, they manufactured them in Germany, in the Audi facility, used Audi engines, and well, thus was born a legend. The 944 is a legend, and it just happens to be an affordable car, and I think that these cars have started to get more and more praise throughout the years. I find it to be an odd car. I don't haven't fallen in love with the way this car drives, if I'm being honest. This car isn't the greatest example. I think it could definitely be cleaned up, and I see the appeal of it. The suspension feels a little bit floaty. The steering wheel feels like it could be a little bit dampered in. The tires on this car are horrible, so I'm giving the car as much slack as I can possibly give it because of this particular example. It's not a very fast car, though. Definitely does not put you back in the seat whatsoever. Even though this interior is presented very nicely, there's just random things from the previous owner in the car still. There's, you know, a little bit of dust, a little bit of dirt. The interior honestly isn't bad, but the exterior on this car needs a little bit of love. This is the first time I've driven in rain, so I'm very happy to see that the car doesn't leak from anywhere, but just fixing the small issues in this thing and going from there. Unfortunately, it seems like we're gonna have some miserable weather, so I can't do a proper detail of the exterior like I wanted, but in the next video, we'll be doing a proper interior, exterior detail and seeing what my friends think about this car. I did have my friend Chris go with me to pick up this car, but he didn't get to drive it. I don't think he even stepped in this car. I want him to drive it. I want to know his thoughts on it. Memphis has not seen the car at all, actually, so I want to get him in the driver's seat and see what he thinks of it as well. If you don't know Chris or Memphis, Chris is the owner of the BMW E90 that we compared with my Lexus IS250. Chris and Memphis both are co-hosts on the Engine Light podcast, and Memphis is the co-host of my motorcycle podcast, Under the Helmet. I'll link the podcast down below if you guys are interested in that. All right, so I've got back from my little drive here. I'm gonna leave you guys with that. The 944 is a really sick car. I mean, I really have enjoyed owning it so far, even with its faults. The more I drive it, the more I look at it, the more I like it. Not that I didn't like how the car looked. I loved how it looked. I loved the concept and the idea of the 44. The first drive, I was like, it's a little weird. The second drive, I was like, okay, I'm a little more comfortable because I'm not stressing about getting this car home. Third drive, this one right here. Oh yeah, I'm starting to like it, and I'm starting to feel what the car needs, where the improvements can be, whatever. It grows on you. The one thing I hate is that left side handbrake, dude. I cannot stress how much I've been like, oh my God, did I put the handbrake on? Did I take the handbrake off? I didn't take the handbrake off. But I'm gonna leave you guys there with the 944. If you did enjoy this video, do me a huge favor, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I will see you guys in the next episode where we're gonna get my friends' opinions on this car and do a proper cleanup and give this car the love it deserves.